Hello and welcome to another D&D Stories. At least that's what I should be saying. It's been a while since my last D&D Stories. I'm well aware. I usually try to put these out every couple of weeks, but it did not come to that because the horrors of High Seat campaign fell apart because of me. Not because of any anger or drama or disagreement with the one player that I've got or scheduling differences or anything. I lost interest. I'm going to go ahead and put it that way. And that seems to kind of be the pattern lately, not only among me, but among anybody I get into a game with as of late. A lot of people losing interest. What was supposed to happen, I can go ahead and tell you the end of the story for those of you that are wondering, is that Miles and his companions were supposed to hear about something called the Rings of the Sublime. And in Pathfinder, the Rings of the Sublime are fear prevention. You don't even have to make a roll, I don't think. It just completely annihilates fear. Or there was a different ring called the Ring of repelling fear or something like that, that every time you made a save against fear it would get +1 and then +2 and then +3 all the way up to infinity until you failed a fear save, and it would deposit all of its charges to 0 and feed that to you. So if you made it to like +8 and then you rolled something and you got +8 and you still failed, then the ring would drop back down to 0. So he and his companions were to go and find such rings and then take on the boogeyman and the remainder of the cultists that were doing shady shenanigans around High Seat. But it did not come to pass. Now, why is that? Not because of current world events as to why we're all inside, stuck at home at the moment, and not from any drama, not from anything else like that. It's just that I've kind of gotten sick of it, to be honest with you. D&D, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I'm not in college anymore. I don't have a social circle that can sit around a table anymore. I went to my local game store to play D&D like out in public, and they had one GM and 14 players, and I offered, hey, why don't we split this group in half? I'll GM a different game, and they told me no and turned me away. And the next nearest store is like 45 miles away, and I don't want to drive that distance, there and back in the same night every Friday night. People over the internet, you can't hold them accountable. They can, disappear, block you, stop replying, stop showing up on time, block you on Discord, Facebook, never answer your emails. You can't hold them accountable. You don't know them in real life. You don't work with them. They don't think they owe you anything, no matter how many hours you spend designing dungeons and dragons and tricks and traps and treasures and everything in between. They can disappear and not say anything. And ever since I put Rob up to do D&D Stories so that I could take a break, I've been trying to get into a game, any game at all, and 7 different games that I've been in have started, gone for a couple of sessions, and then fallen apart. At first I thought it was me. I thought, oh god, maybe I'm a douchebag and people don't want to play with me. But then I started looking at the evidence as it's the GM moved in with their girlfriend and they don't have time to play anymore. Or the so-and-so is in a different time zone and didn't tell us. Or, so-and-so wanted to go out with their family instead, and then the next week they want to go out with their girlfriend instead, and then the next week they're going to go out to the pub with friends instead. does making plans with me not mean anything to you? And just different people, different excuses, different everything. The ones that didn't completely disappear, that is, because there were a number of them. Some of them knew who I was, T the writer on YouTube. Some of them did not. Random stranger over the internet that they owe nothing to and don't think they owe any responsibility, any reasoning to why they didn't show up to the game, or they showed up 2.5 hours late, etc., etc. And I have been trying to get into a game for a year and a half, and not to toot my own horn, but I've got 15,000 subscribers. Some people in the community know who I am, or would say, "Hey, I'd love to play a game with you. That would turn into a D&D story. That'd be cool to hear about," etc., etc. And it is not difficult for me to find people. It's difficult for me to keep a hold of people. And every single group for the past 18 months or so has fallen apart, and I'm fed up. Not only that, but I'm tired of being the GM. Nobody wants to let me play as a player, and I don't want to sit and do this for hours and hours and hours and then just have people quit on me. I don't want to make especially Pathfinder, which is a lot of paperwork for a tabletop game, because they have rules for just about everything. It's a crunchy system. Even creating a character can take a couple of hours, and then the game just goes poof, and I walk away mad, and it's like I'm sick of it. So it has come to the point where I don't want to do it anymore. I would rather find a nice MMO or a nice some other hobby. It's not only that, but having done this on YouTube, doing this twice on YouTube. Those of you that have been around long enough to remember D&D Stories, and then the current iteration, D&D Stories Retold, with better lights and better camera, etc., etc. I did all this, and then I did all this twice to make it look pretty, and I don't know. The nature of the show itself is that eventually it has to end, because you run out of stories, right? Case in point is the Game Grumps. If you know who they are a pair of guys that sit on a couch, they play video games, and they talk over it like a whole bunch of other Let's Players. But they play off of each other. They tell funny stories. They make fun of their families and each other. They tell dick and fart jokes, and they had some amazing years of great content, all with mostly Nintendo games, which is unusual because Nintendo is so damn crabby about people doing Let's Plays and keeping their monetization. But it came to a point with Game Grumps where they'd told all their stories, they'd made all their funny jokes, they'd done all their making fun of their dad voices, and just like dick and fart jokes can only take you so far. And the guy who runs Game Grumps, Aaron Hansen, he doesn't know when to get off the train. It's like, this is kind of played out. You either need to introduce new people who will tell new jokes and have different life experiences to talk about, and do all these other different things, or you gotta stop, because the show, and I was a big Game Grumps fan for a very long time, the show went from freaking hilarious and sometimes philosophical and sometimes just fun to be around to being a shell of its former self, where you could tell the two hosts, Aaron and Dan, are just phoning stuff in because they know, hey, we've got a couple of million subscribers and we've got a couple of editors that need paying, and we just got to sit and play this game and kind of talk over it, and it's not fun anymore. It's not even a shadow of how fun and enlightening and occasionally freaking hilarious that it used to be. And I can't even watch them anymore because they've turned into this dull, repetitive nonsense that you can tell the passion is gone. You can tell they're phoning it in. And, I watch their old stuff on occasion if I'm doing artwork or, doing dungeon work on occasion, not really anymore. But I think one of my favorite actors, Robert Downey Jr., said it correctly when he was talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He said he was done being Iron Man after Endgame because you gotta know when to get off the train. It's never gonna go as high as Endgame ever again. You best get off, leave people wanting more, give yourself the swan song, and step out while it's still good. You don't want to pull, and just think of any show you've ever seen where it's like season 1 was good, season 2 was great, season 3 was starting to tell some epic stories, season 4 we started becoming self-aware, making nods and jokes. Season 5 was supposed to wrap it up, but we were still popular, so we did season 6, 7, 8, 9, and the show kind of goes to crap. I'm experiencing that now. As far as tabletop games goes, as far as D&D Stories goes, I have kind of lost that passion, I'm pretty much out of stories. There's a few bits and pieces I could talk about. There's some of the old ones that are still somewhere on the channel. I could repurpose them into D&D Stories and post them up with episode numbers, but why? I put those out 3, 4, 5 years ago. If people went looking, they could still probably find them and see a much younger me, being so awkward in front of a camera, but there's no real reason to. So, much like the Game Grumps didn't know when to stop, I am realizing that I've come to the point where I should stop. Because not only am I out of stories, but I'm not having fun anymore. And I can't get into games anymore, so there can't be any new stories. One of the reasons that I hired Rob was that I was coming up like on the cusp of being done, of running out of stories, and the show stops, and I'm like, well, fuck, what do I do now? I can't make something up because you guys would be able to tell if I'm sitting there bullshitting you. You already know what I sound like when I'm excited about something that happened versus me just making something up on the fly. It wouldn't make sense, and you would be able to tell. So rather than bullshit you, I am getting off the train. So I guess I have to kind of officially say it. This video marks the end of D&D Stories. And yeah, I know. I'm going to be watching my subscriber count go for the next couple of weeks. You're like, oh, he's not doing D&D stuff anymore. Unsubscribe. Well, that was fun. What else is on? I understand. This isn't really the T the Writer channel. This is D&D Stories with T the Writer, the YouTube channel. So I get it. What I am known for is D&D, and what I built my audience out of was D&D, and I fully and completely understand that my subscriber count is going to take a big hit when people realize that I'm not doing D&D related content anymore. And yeah, I could sit here and do Let's Talk Tabletop. I could sit here and review other books by tabletop terrors. I could do any number of other things, but that would just make it hurt more, That would just keep reminding me that I just can't get into a game. There's nothing local that I can get into that they'll let me run or let me do without sitting next to half a dozen 10-year-olds that barely know how to multiply for their critical hits. There's, all the forum people that say, yeah, I've got a few months worth of Fridays, and then they disappear in 2 sessions. It'll just keep reminding me of all the bullshit that I've been going through for the past year, year and a half, and I don't wanna. So what happens now? D&D Stories, and 131. What an arbitrary number to fucking end out on. I was hoping I could make it to 150, but you would be able to tell that I wasn't having fun anymore. What happens now? Well, 131, this video, will be the last D&D stories. I probably won't be posting up anything related to D&D anytime soon, if ever. I've got all these books. They're probably going to go into boxes just because you do something for 20 years and you talk about it on YouTube for almost 10 years and you want to try something new, eventually. And I have no idea what that's going to be. I am called T the writer, so I write things all the time. Maybe I'll start putting up different short stories and different writing related things up on here, but I realize that's not what I'm known for. So those few that remain that would like to learn writing stuff, hey, I'll still be around. Shield Maiden is going to keep going. My wife wrote a novel that I'm working on editing, and that's going to come up. It's called Dragonologist, which she really enjoys. I might talk about manga or freaking video games. I have the Canarium Let's Play going on right now. There's a bunch of other things. If you just want to hang around me and see what else I'm doing, hey, great, I'll still be here. But I don't know, I'm not in the market for a new hobby right now because I need to get off of this one because it's like I'm beating on a glass door and can't get in. It just sucks too much. So I will need to kind of recover from this and put the books away, put D&D Stories to rest myself for a while, and the channel's not going anywhere, so you can keep watching old episodes if you want to. I don't blame you if you unsubscribe, it's fine. I don't know what the future of the channel is going to be other than creative writing, because I am T the writer, but I wanted to go ahead and make it very clear this is the end of D&D Stories. And I had a great time, and doing all the pixel art and seeing all the comments and stuff, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but like Robert says, you gotta know when to get off the train, you gotta know when to stop, you gotta know when to not pull an Aaron Hansen and just run your show into the ground until it's a shell of its former self. You gotta know when to stop. So, I'm stopping. I will find something new to be passionate about, no doubt. Artwork, I live with an art teacher. Creative writing, whatever it happens to be. If you feel like sticking around, bless you, I love you. We're going to find something else fun to do, not necessarily tabletop gaming related. If you just enjoy my voice or enjoy being around me, great. But this is the end of D&D Stories, so thank you for coming with me on this journey, twice for some of you. Thank you for watching all this stuff and hitting the thumbs ups and all that good stuff, but this is the end of the line, so thank you very much for watching, and don't forget, keep gaming.